Welcome to On Time in Full, a podcast from Designed Conveyor Systems.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode of On Time in Full, brought to you by DCS. I'm your host for today, Gabrielle, and right now I'm joined by Brian Curran, who's VP of Software. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about distribution and fulfillment software, as well as strategies for project success. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, to start us off, Brian, go ahead and just give us a brief bio of yourself, such as name, title, and what it is you do in your industry.
Sure. So my name is Brian Curran. I'm the Vice President of Software for Design Conveyor Systems. And I help customers to optimize their automated solutions using WCS and WES softwares.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about WMS, the Warehouse Management System, WCS, Warehouse Control System, and WES, Warehouse Execution System, and just the main differences between these three distribution and fulfillment softwares.
Yeah, I'll start with the WMS. So WMS is really the orchestrating all the activities within the four walls of the warehouse, but also products coming in and out of the warehouse. So the WMS integrates with systems like yard management systems, ERP systems, shipping carriers, and WCS systems. It also implements a lot of standard process and configuration-based rules, wave planning, and a lot of manual process like picking, packing, and those things. And next is a WCS. WCS is about container management, routing of those containers on the conveyor system, integrating the PLCs and scanners. It's also a message broker to the host system and other third-party systems, the host system being a WMS system. It also has configuration-based exception handling, such as if you have a no-read or an unknown container on the conveyor, there's a configuration to say where that container will go. Also, sorter management, such as enabling and disabling of lanes and making decisions about strategies for how you apply to a sorter, such as round robin or load balancing across lanes. The last one is a WES. So a WES is all-inclusive of the features and functions of a WCS, but also pulls down some features from a WMS. It's more adaptive and dynamic, and it's optimized to change. So it's using things like KPIs and other metrics to make real-time decisions. Also waved and waveless flows together, location inventory management, and then also common is enhanced visibility. So things like large dashboards, data pipelines, using things like tablets and mobile applications, all very common with the WES application.
Now, Brian, it's just the nature of the industry and the way we approach things operationally, but I'm sure the way that we've first approached these softwares has changed over the years and how we use them. So I want to ask you, how has the overall approach to these softwares changed, and has there been a difference in the way people approach these?
Yeah, we'll start in the same order. I'll start with the WMS. So WMS has grown in size and complexity over the years. And today you'll find tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 WMS systems. It can be, there's a number of vendors offering commercial off-the-shelf WMS products. There's a lot of our customers who are still using homegrown systems that they've developed internally. Still mostly supporting manual operations. So that's a WMS. WCS is, it was really, it's an extension of the PLC, I guess you could say, where there's a need for higher level orchestration than a PLC or programmable logic controller would provide. So it's still closer to the hardware. Primary function hasn't really changed. It's providing conveyor routing decisions, integration to host systems and other third-party systems. So it's pretty standard. It's the muscle, if you will, in the warehouse of moving products around. And finally, the WES is it's the newest software in the list. It's been around for about 12 years, and going back beyond that, some of the features and functions that were part of a WES, they've been around for 25 plus years. And the WES movement was really about standardizing some of those custom features at a lower cost and risk. And initially, there was a lot of WMS vendors who were saying that they had a WES. There were WCS vendors saying that they had a WES. So a lot of confusion about what the product was. And because of this, there was a lot of just rebranding of products and saying, hey, we're a WES, which ultimately missed the mark in delivering on the value that the WES was designed for. So today, things are more stable. I think there's a better, more holistic understanding of what a WES is in the market, and the value is being delivered to customers.
Let's go ahead and Brian and talk about the compatibility between these softwares.
Yeah, so you can think about it, the three softwares kind of like a stack, with the WMS kind of being at the top, WES, WCS in the middle, and then below that's where you have your hardware and your PLC layers. So the WMS, I kind of think of that as like the left brain. If you have like the left brain, right brain analogy, and the left brain being more standard process, configuration-based process. The WCS is also a very standard configuration-based process and management of exceptions, things like that. And then the WES, as I said before, it's a hybrid of WCS and some of the features of the WMS. So, it fits in that same space in the stack as the WCS, but maybe pulling down some more functionality from the WMS in the facility. There are cases where the only software that you need of these three would be a WMS, and if you're running an entirely manual process, you really only need a WMS. Also, for simple automated solutions, you don't really need a WCS or a WES. You can do with just a PLC sometimes. So it really depends. But as a hierarchy or a stack, that's kind of how they line up.
Well, about these software programs, there's a lot of ways that we can utilize this to set ourselves up for success. And I want to ask you that. In what ways can businesses use these software programs to set themselves up for the optimal solution and to avoid software projects failing?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that I would recommend to do that is you need to do your due diligence, on number one, on the products themselves, and look at your operation. How have you been running your building, or what's your experience from the past? What are your goals for the future? How much automation are you planning to have in your facility? So as you're making these decisions, do your due diligence, pick the right tool for the job, and understand where each of these different software products shine. When you're vetting different vendors, it's also important that you understand what's under the hood of these products and the business drivers that they were designed to support. So one thing that I recommend, and as a vendor and provider, this is something that our customers often ask of us, is go through a review process with your vendors and really understand, deep dive under the hood, how the product was built, what features does it have to support long-term roadmap, maintainability, supportability, all those architectural attributes. You want to understand what you're buying before you buy. So you can leverage the help of your internal IT team or software team, or even a trusted vendor partner who's also maybe involved in the project, to help you vet the different vendor softwares and looking under the hood, making sure the quality is baked in. They have good process in terms of the entire software development lifecycle, from requirements gathering, development, architecture, quality assurance, and delivery. So you want to make sure they have strong process. You want to make sure they have strong technology, and their technology choices are more modern and secure, that you feel confident that it's going to take you into the future.
Well, you mentioned doing your due diligence and also the review process. So I wanted to ask you, Brian, just what are some ways that you review your process, but also keep it effective as you move forward?
So I think making the right technology choices is really important, and both technology and tools. There's continuous improvement, enhancement in these areas, and you want to take full advantage of it in your internal process. Choices of technology have a direct impact on security, availability, maintainability, and also long-term support. So it's important we're always looking at technology, pushing ourselves to not get comfortable in technology and really make sure we're taking advantage of the latest and greatest trends and techniques. So the technology is what enables innovation. So very important. And also quality process. We put emphasis on quality from every part of the process, from the ground up, and quality is baked in. So we have continuous integration, continuous delivery pipelines. That enables us to continuously test our delivery of the software, integrating new features. We have automated testing built into it, so we know if we're introducing any new issues when we release software. So very important. Also, static code analysis. We do code reviews between the peer software developers, but also we leverage tools that help us do analysis of the software, looking for not only security vulnerabilities, but also best practice on how to implement the software to make sure that it scales and it doesn't have any issues long term.
Well, Brian, as we start to close this conversation, I want to give some actionable ways for our audience to kind of measure success. So in what ways do you, Brian, measure success when it comes to these projects?
I mean, ultimately, it's about delivering value to the customer and helping customers to realize the ROI for the project. So optimize solutions that are cost effective. So we don't want to deliver solutions that are difficult to maintain, difficult to update. So that's very important. Delivering on the low risk, high reward is how I measure success. We want to make sure that we have maintainable solutions for our customers that they're happy with, and we can continue to update as their business needs change. We can continue to change the product to match their needs. So.
And that's the best kind of answer. Thank you, Brian. Well, that closes the conversation for today. So thank you for joining us on today's podcast to discuss distribution and fulfillment software, as well as strategies for project success. So thank you. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Of course, and as always, if you want to learn more, please visit designedconveyor.com and look for this podcast wherever it is you get your podcasts at. I've been your host, Gabrielle. Thanks for tuning in.